Okay, so my name is Mike McGuire. Welcome all on this beautiful spring morning. I appreciate you coming out today. I'm a professor of communications here at Moraine Valley Community College, as everybody in this room knows. Today I'm here with my Composition 2 students. Composition 2 is a course that introduces students to college-level research and writing. College-level research writing. To some, that may seem like a rather dull enterprise, rife with long hours, isolated in the bowels of some college library, sitting glossy-eyed, basked in the glow of a computer screen, spiraling aimlessly down the rabbit hole of an academic database. Well, while students may have spent their fair share of time in such precarious positions this semester, most did far more than that. Together, we've made this semester not just one of academic thought, but one of action. This semester, we've used a method known as critical service learning. Critical service learning is a pedagogical approach that connects an enhanced academic experience, civic skills, and service with the community in order to better understand the social issues that affect us all, while at the same time working to create positive change. Rather than limit ourselves to the typical confines of classroom, library, and the digital web, students this semester have collectively partnered with 23 separate community nonprofit agencies as a way of conducting fieldwork research alongside experts in fields ranging from food insecurity, disability rights, early childhood education, elder care, animal welfare, immigrant rights, homelessness and housing, cancer support, ecological restoration, and extreme global poverty. I don't think we left anything out in that long list. Students combined this fieldwork research with their own personal writing and other intensive research efforts. Ultimately, they worked to raise their own levels of awareness and critical consciousness on these issues so that today they could share with you their understanding and call you to action. Please listen carefully to these speakers today with an open mind and an open heart as they weave together their stories of self, a story of us, and most significantly, the story of now. Karina.
Homeless people make up about 35% of our nation's population. Just to think, more than a fourth of the people that we see every day don't have a place to go home to at night or a roof to cover their heads. On a day-to-day basis, we barely hear about the starving children right outside of our front doors. All of the fuss is about people 3,000 miles away in third world countries. Although we are all aware of the homeless epidemic, many people tend to distance themselves from the topic because they feel as if it is very far from their own circumstances. If you were to ask a random person who lives on the street if they would have ever imagined themselves in that predicament, I bet they'd tell you no. You see, the leading cause of homelessness is a life-altering event that was unexpected and unplanned for. I experienced one of these sudden changes in life when I was very young. The apartment building owned by my grandparents caught fire due to an electrical problem. In a matter of minutes, our home was up in flames. In that moment, we were literally homeless. We were left with nothing except the clothes on our backs. All of my mother's immediate family lived in different apartments throughout the building. So we couldn't say, hey, we'll go stay at Grandma and Granddad's until we get back on our feet because Grandma and Granddad lived right downstairs from us. Luckily, with the help and support of our family members, close friends, and even a few random concerned citizens, we were able to find new places to stay. Eventually, we managed to salvage the building structure and rebuild. What I went through was a very tough time in my life, but to many, I am considered lucky. Not once have I ever had to stay in a shelter, but my situation could have easily led my family and I to one. According to the National Alliance to End Homelessness, roughly 3.5 million people will experience homelessness over the course of 1 year. More than 1 million of them will be children. Everyday circumstances lead to homelessness. Mental illness, abuse, and job loss are just some of the major factors. People do not often choose to be homeless, but we as a people can choose to fight it. The change we throw in the cup is not enough. You don't have to dedicate your whole life to conquering homeless. A few hours out of your day or even your signature can make a difference. President Obama's 2016 budget includes $5.5 billion to target homelessness. A portion of this money is invested into building more shelters and improving the conditions of people who are homeless. Even more money is invested into eliminating the problem altogether. There are many organizations out there who believe that the key to ending homeless is by giving second chances. They are building homes for the homeless, despite the issues they may have when entering them, including drug addictions and mental illnesses. These programs gratefully accept donations and volunteers. You may not be equipped to build a house, but many organizations do clothes and food drives or have housewarming presents given and other things to make residents feel at home. If you have nothing to physically give, you can give your voice by becoming an advocate for the homeless. By getting a clear understanding of the issue and the causes, you then can educate others and make a difference in someone's life. It's really sad to believe that we live in a world or a country that is more willing to send money overseas in an effort to help than to simply find a petition supporting the homeless in their own country and sign it. Homelessness is a huge problem in today's society. The number of homeless people is slowly shrinking. With more support, we can all fight to eliminate homelessness together as a lifestyle in its entirety.
When I was in grammar school, I fainted in the lunchroom. I was very hungry that day because they had changed the lunch schedule. I was running to the tables, but I didn't make it. One of the lunch ladies had to carry me to the office, and we had to wait for the emergency vehicles to come. She gave me a snack that had a lot of sugar in it because my blood sugar was low. This was the first time that I ever knew what a food insecurity was. My parents had me at a young age, so there were many instances where we couldn't buy food ourselves. We lived in my grandparents' attic, so most of our food came from them. My grandparents cared for us, but she didn't have to. In some cases, people that have kids at a young age are kicked out, but my grandma didn't do that. My grandmother made sure that we had enough food to eat when we needed to. Growing up this way, I would assume that many family members would take care of each other. Family takes care of family, right? For people I saw at St. Blaise's Soup Kitchen, that wasn't what I saw. I saw homeless, handicapped, families, elderly people, and children who looked like they went to my sister's school. One family caught my attention the most, a family of an elderly couple and a little girl that could have been their granddaughter. It reminded me of my grandparents. The way we always used to be together as a family, yet here there were these grandparents without their own children. I asked myself, do they work, or could they have gone to another family member to get food? It hit me that not a lot of families are like mine. They had different cultures, different views and ideas. Maybe families weren't as close as I thought. With no one to help take care of them, even though they would go out of their way to take care of their own child's child. So this is where they ended up, in soup kitchens with strangers that are just as hungry as the next. At St. Blaise, there weren't that many people helping out, mostly children and a couple of adults. We didn't have that much supplies, but enough for seconds. Going into the experience, I thought mostly of what I would see and what the people would look like. I didn't take into account how much food we would have to prepare for them. When our service began, there weren't that many people, so I assumed that we would have enough. As the service went on, I realized that we were running out fast. I wondered if there were other places that had this problem. While reading up in the New Yorker, I found out that in New York, a city which population is bigger than ours, almost every soup kitchen was the same. Food supplies were low, but the amount of people that needed the supplies were growing. Even though they might not always have the same amount of donations, they tried their best for people when no one else would. In one kitchen called Holy Apostle Church, they even gave free condoms to homeless people so they wouldn't get diseases. Looking at what people have done for them, you'd think it would be a good idea for people to help out. But was it enough? Not everyone could get enough food, let alone seconds. We are such a big country, we should be able to feed everyone. Well, looking on Google, I found out that Americans throw away at least $165 billion each year. Yet, we don't have enough for supplies for soup kitchens. Schools have fundraisers, canned foods, that's good. It helps a little, but we still need more. Once in a while, we hear commercials about hunger, but that's it. Even though we try our best to get donations to schools, sometimes people don't act. If we took more time in the publicity of hunger in soup kitchens with pamphlets, commercials, billboards, and other things, maybe it would be a more pressing matter. If going into my service learning, I had no idea what a soup kitchen was near me. or anywhere to that matter. Do you? So I ask you to go out and look for them. If not, talk to your children, sibling, and cousins about hunger that people face every day. Children aren't stupid. They understand when something is serious. If we instill this thought into their minds when they're young, they can make a difference. But that's just some food for thought.
Today I'm going to be talking about animal welfare. Growing up, I always had a love for animals, and I especially had a soft part in my heart for dogs. So when I was in elementary school, my grandpa had found a dog outside of his work, and he was just wandering around. His name was Buddha, and we contacted the owners, and it turns out that they actually didn't want him, so they had let him outside and just didn't let him back in. And we actually adopted him from the owners because they didn't want him anymore. And it turns out that he came from a neglected and abused life. He was very hesitant to warm up to us, and it took him a while to understand that we were going to help him and we weren't going to abuse him like his other family did. So at the beginning of the semester, I was really excited to see the Animal Welfare League was on the list because I wanted to help other animals that were like Buddha, and I wanted to make sure that they were being loved and taken care of. Animal Welfare League is a shelter as well as a care center for animals. They take in any kind of pets, animals, and they give them the proper care they need, they give them the proper shots, and they clean them up, and they help find a home for them. While at Animal Welfare League, I witnessed a lot of animals that came in that were being abused, and it really made me think that animal abuse isn't just going on for like pets, but animals all over. For example, the orca whales at SeaWorld aren't treated the best. They are put in just these tanks along with other whales who aren't their family members. So they're being taken apart from their family, and it's like if you were walking in the park with your family and all of a sudden you just started being pulled in different directions and you were put with complete strangers who you expected to work with and just live with. They're put in captivity, and they start to act out on the other whales as well as their trainers, which is why they are so aggressive. They also develop depression because they are so bored. They are used to swimming miles and miles a day, and while they're being held in the tanks, they can only swim a few laps, and they'll actually start to float around. And luckily, people have started to see that this isn't the best environment for the orca whales, and SeaWorld has seen their attendance go down as well as their revenue. But while SeaWorld's attendance is going down, its industry in China is actually rising, and it's rising so much that it is actually compared to how the U.S. was 50 years ago. Yet luckily, the youth in China has realized that this isn't the best environment for the animals, and they're trying to get the word out to the old elders in China to make them realize that these animals deserve to be free. It's important to give these animals a voice because they can't tell everybody the issues that they actually have, and it's our chance to give them a voice and let others know that animal abuse is still a very big thing, even though it's not very much talked about. And it seems like a very large issue to help out, but there's really simple ways to help. You can volunteer at your local animal shelter because they are always looking for help and are always welcomed for the extra hands. Another way is to make sure that all animals are sprayed or neutered because it helps make sure that the shelters do not kill them just because capacity. You can also avoid animal entertainment so that these animals can be free and be wild with their families. And then the last way is to purchase cruelty-free products, and there's actually a list on PETA's website if you go on their website. It's very important that these animals are able to live their life the way that they are meant to, and it's our turn to give them a voice so they can be free.
Morning, everyone. How many people we got in here today? Food Insecurity by Patrick Kyman, the journalist for Youth Magazine, states that food insecurity impacts nearly 1 in 5 households just in the United States alone. That's 4 to 5 of us in this very room right now that are impacted just by this one little event. The United States Department of Agriculture uses the term food insecurity to describe someone who is lacking reliable access to sufficient, quality, and affordable nutritious foods. As a child, I was one of those statistics. I grew up in the projects, hood, slums, whatever you want to call it, of Chicago. It's called a little town called Bridgeport. My mom would seem to work the 24/7-hour job working at the local tortilla factory. That was just to put food, clothes, and a roof over mine and my little sister's heads. For my little sister and me. We had nice meals for dinner, just like normal fortunate people. But our tummies growled in between times. Those times were rough. To feed my little sister and I took a job at a local gym. We got 2-bag lunches to do a couple hours of cleanup every day. Now that was a local source. We got to clean up for a couple hours. We had 2-bag lunches with a sandwich, a fruit, and a juice box, which is more fortunate than some of the rest. At the time, I could only imagine what was going on through my little sister's head as to why my family's always gone, or why are we always eating out of a bag, or why we only get one meal a day compared to the people's usual 2, right? That was in the 90s. Fortunately, today, we still have this problem. It's probably even bigger than it ever was. We have an ongoing world today. More and more people. We got a bill going through in the House of Reps, H.R. 1567, which is the Global Food Security Act of 2016. That got introduced in March of 2015. Come on, people. It's taken a year to still add on to food insecurities for a bill to be passed just for the United States. It's a worldwide problem. A lot of these bills are more political. That's a way to help. But at the same time, these little things that other people are doing, bills, programs, and volunteering, they're just helping the problems. They're not solving it. We need to start deviating the issue. Everybody needs to put in their part. Something simple. If enough of us start helping by, as said in the USDA, by their press, local projects, helping food insecurities, being aware of economic and job securities, provide food assistance, food recovery, donations, education, and awareness through that kind of ongoing support, a little help can go a long way and turn from help to a solution. There are many ways to donate. There's lots of things listed on the USDA's website to fight the cause, but some ideas I've created on my own are reasonable. Yes, donate and volunteer at your local shelters, but you got to do more than that. You can't just give them the time of day during holidays, a couple extra pennies during Christmas or Easter, or some extra food then. Hunger's a year-long event. You need to start volunteering and acting and maybe giving a little bit more. It's a year-long process. My personal favorite, how about we just invite someone over whose tummy you might think be growling that day? Does that seem manageable to you? I challenge each and one of you to help someone. Open your ears, listen to those tummies growl. Hunger is not food insecurity, but it's a disease that's derived from it. So let's stand tall and make a difference and help build a better future so no one has to go through what millions of others have had to do. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Joe Cachet, and I want to be talking to you guys a little bit about animal rights, animal cruelty, animal welfare. A little bit about myself. I had 3 dogs growing up. Max was a black lab. He ran away at 10. And then I had 2 German Shepherds, Samson and Harley, and they both passed away at 6 due to my vet's malpractice. They both got some rare diseases, and someone else sued the vet later on. So we thought it was just bad luck. But other than that, my involvement with animal welfare, I had the opportunity to volunteer at ALSIP to the Rescue, and at first I never visited a shelter. I never really looked them up. I heard about them, saw them on shows, but I didn't even know there's a difference between a rescue and a shelter. And one of the major ones is that a rescue doesn't euthanize animals. It's in the name. They rescue them, they quarantine them, they make sure they're safe to be around other pets, give them their shots, and they do their best to find them a foster family. They'll call people, they have adoption events. And during my time there, I talked to a lot of the staff, and I asked them, what are some stories you guys have? What do you see come through here? How big of a problem is animal cruelty? And then they let me know it's actually a lot more common than you would think in your neighborhood. And one of the problems is that it's extremely hard to track. Well, it used to be extremely hard to track because nobody was keeping records of it. It was all handled by local authorities, deputies. They had no one else to report to. So as soon as that case was done, they wiped their hands and they put the paper away, and that was it. And some of the animals there, you can actually see what the abuse would do to them. Some dogs, if you walk near them, they would get scared because they've been kicked a punch. If you grabbed a broom, some animals would cower, things like that. So while I was there, I also started to kind of realize how far we've come as a society for animal rights and animal welfare. I mean, just recently, all these new laws, bills being pushed to protect animals, to make sure that they're living in humane conditions. And before I get into how far we've come in society, I kind of want to go back a little bit to see where we used to be. Going back to around the 18th century, the general view on animals was they're just tools. They're not rational beings. We're rational beings. They're not intelligent. They have no rights. They're just to be used and put away. And one person I want to quote here, Immanuel Kant, he was a German philosopher from the 18th century. He said that, so far as animals are concerned, we have no direct duties. Animals are there simply as a means to an end, and that end is man. And he was a very influential figure at the time, and that was the view that everyone shared. And then there was another quote on the flip side of that by Jean-Jacques Rousseau, who stated, the question is not, can they reason, nor can they talk, but can they suffer? And this quote is what helped push animal rights to where it is today. It's not that they can't reason, or they're not self-aware, or they're not intelligent, but they can suffer just like we can. You can see it in an animal's eyes who's being abused constantly, who's hungry, who's scared. You can see that. And one of our duties as rational beings that we can do is empathize with the animal, make sure that they're living in humane conditions. And that's what we've been doing lately. With the dawn of the internet, information age, everything like that, something as minute as sharing a Facebook video of a dog being abused can spread the awareness and get that person incriminated. He's in the video, they can be in the video, it's spread, awareness is spread, someone can report to the authorities, and he's busted. And other than that, new laws, bans being put on whaling. South Africa has been doing new techniques to prevent rhinos being poached for just their trophies. And this is all because we're staying together and we're telling them we don't want these animals to be abused anymore. There's pushes for free-range chickens, quality of life for farm animals. President Clinton put the ban on animal fighting, or dog fighting, and President Obama put a ban on all animal fighting. And one of the biggest things that's going to help with animal cruelty right now is the fact that the FBI just put animal cruelty on a type 1 felony list. And with that, they're going to start to track all the data they get from animal cruelty cases. So one thing that you can do to help out the government with this just started this January, is if you suspect anyone who could be abusing an animal, you don't have to go and call the FBI. Call your local rescue, call a shelter, tell a friend, tell an authority. Let them go in there, let them handle the situation, get that pet out of there, and they'll do their part and report higher. And that way, the federal government can start to accrue numbers and data they can use to form a better plan of action to combat this issue. In order to that, what seems like it might be really simple to do, sharing Facebook videos, spreading awareness, liking a local rescue or shelter's page, and sharing some of their posts, let people know that these animals, if they're looking for pets, go to a rescue. They're not damaged animals. They need homes. And little things like that is what can help make a big change. So thank you guys for your time.
All right, I'm Tyler Lohr. I'm here to talk to you about childhood development, the problem, and the path forward to solving it. The biggest problem with childhood development strays from either like living in a more poverty area, malnutrition, lack of proper interaction with the children, which could lead in them not learning properly, picking up normal skills that everyone might, and they will develop a little bit slower. This also comes from the absence of appropriate child care around like the household. If the parent's not around too much, or if they don't got enough money to send them to a child care that's local, then this children is also set back. The children around the early childhood, they go through the most rapid changes very quickly, and anything that could cause issue or slow them down could negatively influence them in their mental growth. And then to kind of like go off this little background of myself, when I was a lot younger, me and my mother had some issues, so we moved back to her foster mother's house with her mom in Chicago on Mozart and like 62nd Street. So we had like pretty much absolutely nothing. My mom would work, excuse me, and then I would stay with my grandma because my mom didn't feel comfortable sending me to some schools or local places around there to take care of me or have me learn there. So pretty much my only way of like learning was either just like reading like simple books that my grandma might have had laying around from like my mother's childhood, or it was pretty much doing like crossword puzzles or just sitting down with her at the table when my mom was at work and just letting her teach me how to like learn how to read and write very, very slowly. And then I wasn't really getting like the opportunity to like get like a big social life besides if like I would go out with like a kid or two that was like my neighbor. Other than that, I was pretty much like stuck inside this house for a few years of my life until we managed to like move out to Crestwood. And through this whole service learning experience, I got to go to the Carole Robertson Center of Learning, which was an amazing experience, especially since it was all created just by parents and community residents who felt that a center for their children to go get extra learning, or even like parents that didn't have time to take care of them as much as they should due to work or whatever the issue may be, they were able to send them to a safe place where they could learn, be social, interact with other children, always make sure they got food 3 times a day. And this school wasn't just for like younger children. It went from infants all the way up to like middle teenagers, and they pretty much were open 24/7. And to me, this was an awesome experience because it taught me that just a simple community just saying like, okay, there's like an issue, they all just bonded together and they reached out and they just decided we're going to pull some money together, reach out to a few extra important people and just make this happen. They were able to create a better pathway for these children to have more successful lives instead of being like stuck to where they are. And also it allowed them to pretty much get a better education, develop better life skills, even like learning skills. And overall, everyone complains that we have like an issue around like the community, society, and everything else, but nobody's actually reaching out to do anything to actually improve the lives of the younger generations that are the ones that are most likely to make the biggest improvements. So reaching out to like even like local place around your area saying like, hey, maybe we should like try to like pull some money together would be an awesome thing to do to like start up another organization like they have. Thank you.
My name is Alyssa Lunsford, and this semester I've gotten the opportunity to work with the Sertoma Center to help advocate for disability rights. But this was not my first run-in with the issue of disability and the isolation that they feel socially. We're all different, and this comes from the experiences that we have when we were growing up and as we grow into adulthood. It's what makes us who we are. I was raised with my cousins Joey and Ella, and my cousin Joey was about 3 years older than I was, and he had severe Down syndrome. Like to this day, he cannot enunciate my name correctly. And I learned so much through growing up with him, but I think that I can mostly thank my mom for that, because she always made sure to teach me that just because he's different and just because he has a disability does not mean that he's less of a person and does not mean that he does not have feelings. And I think that that's something that everyone can learn through spending time with those with disabilities and those who are just different than us in general. I actually remember the day that I realized that Joey knew he was different than the rest of us. I think I was about 8, which puts him at like 11, and it was when Hoobastank came out with that song, The Reason, and the first 3 lines were, I'm not a perfect person, there's many things I wish I didn't do, but I continue learning. And I remember that he used to just run around the house and sing that at the top of his lungs until no one could stand it anymore. But that's when I really understood what it was like for him and what I understood what it was like to live in our society today with a disability. And it kind of just sticks with you, you know? And to try to put this in perspective, it's like being that kid that's left out in the lunch table in high school when you got that really bad haircut and no one wanted to be seen with you, or like always being picked last in kickball because you're the chubby, clumsy girl that no one wants on their team. But you may think that that kind of stuff doesn't matter because that's just elementary school or that's just high school. But when that's how you feel every day of your life because of how you were born or something you were born with, it starts to matter a lot more. That is your life. And this is not just something that is central to my cousin or one or two people in the world. It's one of the largest problems that those with disabilities face on a daily basis. Social isolation is something that is societally caused. Researchers who study the social model of disability will also agree with me on that. According to the Michigan Disability Rights Coalition, this is a quote, "The social model views disability as a consequence of environmental, social, and attitudinal barriers that prevent people with impairments from maximum participation in society." So the word disability is something that is placed on those who already have impairments to help exclude them further than they already are. It is isolating them on top of their impairment that they were born with. And this is just wrong. This lack of inclusion is clearly something that we learn from our society, and that means that we can only change it through banding together and working together to break this stigma. And that means we need to educate everyone we can. And I'm just asking all of you to call your local advocacy center, like the Sertoma Center in Alsip, or call your local Y, and just see what you can do to help, because these kinds of organizations are always looking for an extra set of hands and volunteers, because without their volunteers, they could not function and do the things that they do for our people. After all, you can learn a lot through working with someone who has a disability or is different than you are. And I know that because I grew up with it, but I want you all to have the same experience I do. Thank you.
Hi everyone, good morning. My name is Shesha and I'm here to talk about immigration. Well, immigration has always been part of any discussion, whether it is social, personal, or just you're talking with your friends. So it has always been part of our life. I could imagine how hard it would be for someone to come to a totally new country with all the hopes of better future. My question here is why immigration is important to us. Why should we discuss such issues? The point here is I want you to know the fact that how immigrants are making this country even more better. Firstly, they start businesses. They boost up our economy. Trust me, they boost a lot. According to the Small Business Administration, immigrants are 30% more likely to start a business compared to natives, which shows only 18%. Secondly, immigrants own their businesses and they create jobs for American workers. Finally, majority of immigrants are engineers, scientists, and innovators. Their contribution is worth. Their efforts and passion makes people dreams come true. Then, why we aren't treating our immigration the way they should be treated. Surveys made by international treaties recognize that non-citizens in particular face significant exposure to human rights abuses because they are often being removed from their communities and support networks. Immigrant women and children are even more vulnerable, often being denied access to healthcare and education, exposed to abuses of various kinds, such as trafficking, detention, and deportation. US laws do not always uphold human rights. Certain states and federal laws discriminate between citizens and immigrants, or between documented or undocumented. Immigrants may experience discrimination and intimidation in the workplace and in society at large. In some situations, immigrants are detained in abusive conditions, denied access to the country again. That lead to separations of family. You could imagine how hard it would be for someone to just live without their families. After analyzing the issues, I have some visions of hope and actions that we could take together to protect our immigration systems and to stop exploitation of immigrants. First, the US government must adopt necessary measures and create an environment such as our immigrants can enjoy their human rights. people must prevent discriminatory outcomes due to class, religion, gender, or language. The easiest thing we could do from this movement right now is to stop making judgment on others on the basis they look, on the basis they walk, or on the basis of their dress code. You never know where they come from, what their religion or what language they speak. So stopping the discrimination and stopping making the judgments on others would definitely help you understand the people more. To conclude, I would like to thank our professor to give us an opportunity to stand up and to speak up on the issues we care. Trust me, minor changes make major differences. There are many ways to prevent such discriminations. It is the action that we need to take to make changes in the world. I'm definitely going to be part of that change. I'm stopping making judgments and criticizing others, and I want you to do the same. I'm going to be part of that change. Are you?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Cindy Reyes, and today I'm here to talk about higher education. Coming from a family of 6, issues were always present and not always the best. Financial issues, for example, eventually became the usual. My parents have always pushed me and my other 3 siblings to go above and beyond because they taught us things didn't always have to be this way. They said we have to allow ourselves to take risks in life as well as taking in any opportunity given to us throughout life to help us better have the power to change our own destination. With this in mind, eventually all 4 of us took education very seriously, especially my brother Julio and I. As I began to transition into my higher education here in Marine Valley, I came in with the anticipation that things would be hard, but not impossible. On my end, a lot of hard work and dedication was expected of me. Obtaining an education higher than high school will not only help me become someone that is successful in life, but many of you can relate to this as being the American dream. The American dream that we all wish to reach one day and happily say, wow, I did it. As far as problems that I had to deal with within my household, I learned that the society we live in today seems to consist of nothing but money. Of course, that's life, and we all know that nothing in life is simply granted to you freely. But without upholding some sort of education, you simply experience the feeling of being a piece of paper floating through midair, not knowing where your destination will be at. To this, I say that as for me, I've had it easy, reason being because I received financial aid. So of course, without a hesitation, I decided to further my education. Not because I was forced to, but because I wanted to. I considered myself lucky because sadly, I know not everyone gets these same privileges, and simply, with the blink of an eye, all their dreams become shattered, all because the necessary funding with money was not there. As we all may have been aware of, the Illinois budget battle is now jeopardizing college access and affordability to many students in Illinois, and a lot of universities, such as Chicago State University, is now facing problems with the school being shut down as a whole. And now, because of this crisis we are facing now, Marine Valley Community College will not be given any funding for the fall semester as well, and this will begin to slowly impact students' education. Students meaning us. We should want to do something about this because in fact it is our problem. And even though some may think that it isn't, it really is. But now let me ask you this. What comes to mind when you hear the word undocumented? Well, if you'd ask me, coming from experience, I've heard people around me speak about undocumented students being Mexicans. But truth is, being Mexican isn't the only undocumented race. Think about it. Many of these stereotyping ways are things that are faced by a lot of students entering higher education. I don't believe simply because of a person's race, religion, and income, their doors should be closed. We are all people of the United States, and in this world, our different ethnicities, backgrounds, are what makes us a country with great power. Nevertheless, this sort of discrimination, I experienced these same problems with my older brother Julio and his education. There was stress, anxiety, and downfalls along the way. Doors began to close down on him because being an undocumented student isn't in fact easy, but being a sister of one wasn't either. I had to constantly witness him face battles with financial issues to continue through with his education. I know we all face problems that eat us up inside. No one wants to hear someone tell them, I'm sorry, you cannot continue to further on your education, and it stops here until further funds are met. I am sure the feeling is inevitable, and my brother knows exactly how this feels because just exactly that was told to him this spring semester. It wasn't easy adjusting, but that didn't stop him just yet. He continued to accomplish a lot during his time off of school, making it productive as possible. Him and a group of friends created a scholarship for undocumented students who did not have the necessary funds to continue through with their education at the Illinois Institute of Technology, if that so happens to be the school of their choice when they further on their education. It took hard time, but with the positivity that my brother has had, even through the bad times he went through, he's motivated me to help others in the best way I can. Like he said, with hard work and dedication, nothing in this world is impossible. We should become that helping hand to better educate each other with the resources that surround us. And this, to me, is the sort of strength that I wake up to every day. He's become my role model. He showed me that giving back to your community or school can help you gain something along the way. Being able to have been part of the Collegiate Promise Meets Potential Bridge program here in Moraine Valley as a part of my service learning has been an unforgettable experience. I've helped high school students make their transition toward their next chapter in life a much easier one. And I learned that by having someone there to help you through hard times and even through the good throughout your education experiences does make a difference. A difference that I am asking you all to take a part of. That not just because some guy in a suit says you're incapable of pursuing an education, you should let this be the end of your written story. We all live on this earth, and the same rights should be granted to all. It's sad to see a lot of students give up on their dreams. What if you were in a similar situation or a family member was as well? Are you going to wait until then to do something about it? The time is now. We should keep in mind that change does not happen from one night to the next. Together, we can make the difference that we wish to see. It is our job to let others know that they're not alone. Anything is possible, but our actions do speak louder than our words. Don't be intimidated by a new experience. Let your voice be heard. Attend important information such as the importance of funding public education today here held at Moraine Valley with State Representative Kelly Burke in U111 at 2 p.m. Gain knowledge about what's happening around you. State how these issues are affecting you. Simply volunteering and being a part of an organization that helps students and yourself succeed is more than enough. Always remember, silence does not solve problems, it only creates more. Thank you.
As I prepared to write this speech, I didn't know what to talk about until I turned on the television and saw a segment on Channel 7 News on how another African-American citizen lost his life due to gun violence. This young boy suffered a gunshot wound to the head in a drive-by shooting unintended for his life. This is not the first time an innocent life has been taken away. Tragedies like this have been common in the city of Chicago. According to the Chicago Tribune, in the first 10 days of 2016, 3 times as many citizens were shot in Chicago as the beginning of 2015. How do we get people to put the guns down? Living in a city where murder has become numbing is frightening to citizens. It's almost as if people have become used to the fact of people dying. I have not become numb to that fact. I do not want to live in fear of myself and loved ones. With all the police brutality in Chicago, that has definitely not helped the cause. But my question is, what can we do to stop the violence? Citizens continue to grow in fear. I propose a petition to end the gun violence. There is no real answer, but maybe the better question is, where are the guns coming from? The concealed carry gun law in Chicago has not really helped The concealed carry gun law has not really helped with guns staying out of the wrong hands. People are still dying on a regular basis. There is no one real solution, but hopefully over time the violence will decrease. The gun violence must stop. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Karen and I will be talking about elderly care. And I would like you guys to just pay attention because believe it or not, elderly and these people are the ones that need the most help in this whole wide world because we do not pay attention to them. For me, it all started when I realized that this was such a huge thing. It started the day I met Rebecca. And Rebecca was an elderly woman who lived in a retirement home. And I was accompanied by a friend.
when we were walking through this retirement home. And as we walked through these hallways, they were all just completely dusty, completely dirty. You can tell that this place needed help. As I walked there, I also saw, people that were in wheelchairs that were completely non-taken care of. You can tell again that this place and these people needed help. And they weren't just people. We're talking about seniors. We're talking about people who are almost at the end of their lives, right? That are only trying to make the best of them. As we went through this place, knocking in people's doors and meeting new people, we knocked on someone's door, and a nice lady came out. And obviously, as you walked in, the conditions were pretty bad. Her apartment reeked with the smell of urine. There was dirty clothes everywhere. There was diapers, old diapers, on the floor that she had used on the floor. And she was in a wheelchair with a severe infection on her foot that she had, I think, from a bed sore. Her hair looked like it never had been washed or brushed, in I don't know how long. She had food stains on her shirt and even on her face from maybe days. There was another lady who we knocked into who lived with another woman. These ladies, they had 10 dogs in their apartment in cages who were not clean, who lived in their own stool. These dogs, they were pretty happy. They would fed pretty well. These women loved these dogs. But the place didn't allow them to have dogs, which is why they had all these dogs in these cages. They only let them out to those people who they trusted to see the dogs. But if you would see around their house, you would see dirty dishes everywhere. You would see cups of food and just old food that had not been touched. It was pretty gross. They also were in really bad situations, as you can tell. One of them was in a chair. She couldn't walk, and she was overweight. Her shirt was completely stained with, I can't imagine what. When we finally got to Rebecca's apartment, we knocked into her apartment, but I could not believe my eyes when I walked in there. I literally cannot believe my eyes, because as soon as I walked in there, there was a cloud of smoke that I could not take. There was literally gray everywhere. You were walking into a complete gray room because she had a problem with smoking. My eyes started getting watery. I couldn't breathe in that place, so I immediately went to the window and opened it. She was sitting in her couch in her living room, where she pretty much used that couch as her bed. She didn't move from the bed when she had her own room. She had a problem on her foot from a recent fall. Her dishes were not cleaned, ever, really. She didn't have many, but none of it was clean. She would use the dirty dishes over and over and over again without washing. As I was looking at this woman, I thought to myself, well, how can I help her? What can I do? The retirement home obviously was chaos. How can I make a difference? At that time, I didn't think much of it, because what can one person do, right? Someone like me, people will not listen to me. Time went by, and I saw more situations in my community that made me sad and angry. I researched and volunteered at a few nursing homes, only to see that the same problem was still alive, killing these seniors. But no, killing our family members, our grandpas, our grandmas, the grandparents, or even parents of the people of our community. Research tells us that these human beings are not just suffering from depression because their family is leaving them alone in the homes, but also infection spreading because there's not enough certified nurse assistants to help to take care of them. Malnutrition is rising each and every day. Seniors are given the wrong medication because the nurses have 15 or 20 residents to take care of per day. Now that's a lot of work, for one. I read a story recently of a man found in his room covered in urine and stool
with severe bed sores on his back that literally had his skin peeling off his back, on his feet. He had vomit all over him from several times he had ejected his food. How can we make a difference? How will you make a difference? Here is how. Together we can make that difference. You remember how we used to do service hours to be able to graduate from high school? Well, how about we take advantage and have our nursing homes contact their nearest high schools and offer service hours for the students where they can serve the seniors in the nursing home. This way, the students will see and have an experience with taking care of loving residents in need of attention and care. Before these students can start their service, we can start them off with a small introduction at the beginning of their service, where we can give information out about the blessing of being a CNA and how it is a blessing to the seniors. We can have several CNAs from the nursing homes give their testimonies, inspiring and motivating these young students. We can also have seniors from the home talk to them about the great blessing the young students can be to them and how much they are needed. As we do so, the students will start their service day and have a hands-on experience. Over the time, CNAs in the nursing homes of our community will increase. Another thing we can do is give a presentation in assemblies at colleges and high schools about the need for them and their help to these weak and fragile seniors. By doing this, I'm sure we can help and get these seniors out of pain and misery. There are many more things we can do. There's so many more. But together, we can put these ideas together and make a difference. Let's work together and help. Let's work together and recruit CNAs. Let's work together because we care. Let's make a difference. Thank you.
Can I begin? When I first came to United States, only 6 months had passed since my family moved here at that time. And I remember I was living in Oak Forest on those gray building apartment located there. Those are already located on 159th LeClaire Avenue. And on December 29th, 2007, 9 years ago, someone in my apartment burned the whole apartment down because he had a family issue with his wife, because he did not like the fact that his wife was visiting his sister, his daughter-in-law, because he did not like the son-in-law at all. Around 10:30 p.m. at night, he literally took drum of petroleum and he poured it on the first and the second floor. And at that time, I was only 6 years old, so I remember I was playing with my brother. I was playing with him Mario game, and my sister was walking outside. And I remember when she said, "Vishwa, come here, we need to hurry up, there is smoke coming out." And I literally ran, and we both opened the door, and we called the police as soon as possible, and we knocked on our neighbor's door and let them out too. And I remember at that night that I was so nervous because we did not speak English at that time. Neither did my family understand anyone speaking English. So I remember I was asking to myself, where are we going to spend the night of the fire? Where are we going to sleep? Are we going to go to anyone's family, or are we going to just rent a hotel or anything like that? But I remember at that time, American Red Cross Club and people of City of Oak Forest came to help my family. Now my question to you is, why would someone even come to help someone who is totally out of this country, who does not even speak English? The question is, and the main point is, they knew what it means to be socially responsible. Social responsibility to me means to help those who are suffering problems, whether it's food insecurity or whether it's someone who just went through tragic events, such as my family went through when the our apartment got burned down. So what are we going to do about food insecurity? There are a lot of people who are food insecure. Food insecurity means when person does not know when he or she will get their next meal from. And it's not that only one or certain age group is affected by it. It could be anyone. It could be African American, Indian, Chinese, Japanese, Mexican, young children, older children, or anyone. So why not help them by making small changes? And those changes doesn't have to be really big. Like, you don't have to be an actress or president of the United States to do anything. The only thing you need is right intention, right timing, and right heart to do it. And I remember over the semester, I did research, and I found out, and I came to one of the most astounding fact in the film called A Place at the Table. It was published in 2013, where the director introduces the fact that every single county in the United States has some kind of food insecurity. What does this tell us? It tells us that even though we are the richest country, we still have things that we need to fix upon on. And not only that, but Stephanie Sinclair, who is a journalist and who worked for National Geographic magazine, she also mentions the fact that one of the state, New York, which is like the most richest, has out of 3 people, every one person is hungry. And not the least, a professor of Harvard University, his name is Sandil. He wrote a book about food insecurity and what it means, and the name of the book is How Having Something Small Means Too Much. It basically talks about anything that you have little of, it creates a kind of mindset into your mind where you just think about what you're missing about. For example, if you do not have a food, then all the time you would be thinking about food. Can it be possible that children who are food insecure are also thinking about food all the time, even in the classrooms when they should be studying about it? My question to you is, are we going to help those who are food insecure? Or not only that, Sandil also says that food insecurity can lead to many other social development and on how they behave and get along with others. So not the least, my question to you is, are we going to help those? And why should we help them? It's because we are all connected. The major thing and the most important thing to learn is that every single event or every single act you do has been connected. So there are many ways you can help all those who are food insecure. Some of them are that you can visit for food insecurity, or you can experience hunger by yourself, or you can go to food shelter, or you can even visit and do research for your own self and find out the truth about it. Not only that, but you can also go to or join the 30th annual Hunger Walk, which is going to be hosted by the Greater Chicago Food Depository in 2016 soon. And the most and the best and effective way to solve the problem is to call your representatives. It only takes 6 people to contact them. We only need 6 people. It's not too much things to ask for. So my question to you is there anyone who is in this room who is strong enough to call the representative and let them know that there is a problem called food insecurity and we care about them?
My name is Sabrina, and my piece is called We Can Make a Difference. When was the last time that we told ourselves that if we try to make a difference, we can really make a difference? Growing up with a single mom who was unemployed for a bit made things really hard. Money was always tight, and we had that constant worry of if she's going to be able to pay for our bills and if she'll be able to keep a roof over our head. After some time, my mom's side of her family saw her struggle and they tried to help her as much as they could. My grandma provided my mom with a place to stay and helped her get back on her feet. My uncle was able to help my mom pay for my tuition, and he was able to help her provide money to pay for her bills. After due time, my mom was able to find a job and get back on her feet to provide for the both of us. They are what got us through the hard times. I firmly believe that without the help of others, we would not be able to be where we are today. Seeing them want to help my mom and seeing my mom always have a positive outlook on life, no matter how hard things got, was what made it even better. A few weeks ago, I was able to experience the same want that my family had. I volunteered at the same Blaze Hot Meal program. I was able to see everyone come together, and despite their situation, they tried to have a good time. I tried to put myself in their shoes, and I remembered how I felt when my mom was struggling. It made me think about how sad I was and how it affected my daily life. The same Blaze Hot Meal program was located in Summit in a very small room, but not too many people and about just 40 of them. The program was ran by a couple of nuns. The dedication from the nuns was more than inspiring. They were running around trying to make sure that everything was good and that everyone is fed and happy. I was able to see what they were able to do to help everybody. When I saw everyone come together, it warmed my heart. Imagine not having anywhere to stay on a cold, rainy night. Imagine not being able to afford to buy a nice meal. Think about it. If everyone has the mindset that one person can make a difference, if 1 million people believe that, then we could really make a difference. There's so much that we can do to help the homeless or even the people who may not be as fortunate as we are. It can be something as little as buying someone a meal who needs one more than we do. It could even extend to helping out at a food depository or donating food. All it takes is some research. If everyone reading this decided to volunteer at a soup kitchen, can you imagine how much of a change we can make? The time is now. We need to try to put a stop to poverty. We can each take at least 2 hours out of our entire week to volunteer at a homeless shelter. There are so many around us that we may not even know about. All we have to do is try and research.
Hey everybody, my name is Vince, and I worked with animal welfare. I want to start off by talking about my dog, Kelly. She's a red-nosed pit bull, most lovable dog in the world. She licks everybody, and she loves playing with everybody. You'd be a total stranger, and she'll come up, bring her ball, and just play with you. All right? So going into LSIP, this is how I imagined all dogs. I went in with this idea that every dog was the same as Kelly. Every dog should be the same as Kelly. Lovable, kind, playable, and cute, of course. But when I got to LSIP, it's not exactly what I was greeted by. During the main introduction that I got, we were told that these dogs weren't like every other dog, which really worried me. We got a lot of stories about some of these dogs, and they were very sad. And again, that worried me too. I didn't know what to expect when I'd see these dogs. So when we finally got introduced to the dogs, the stories were true. They were very shy. They weren't like Kelly. They didn't come up and say hi or greet you with a ball. They cowered away a little bit, and most of them barked. The reason why they're like this is because of the abuse and the cruelty that they have faced with the previous owners. Previous owners have hurt them or let them go, wander the streets, and they've had to survive by themselves. And the problem is they can't. They're not bred to do that anymore. The idea is that these animals can feel pain, just like we can, but we don't see it like that. We see them as living beings, but we don't really think about what they think. And they can suffer, they can feel pain. And that's why we need to be their voice. We need to be their voice of pain. Let the people know what they feel. Because we can see it, we just don't notice it. It's imperative that you let local authorities know about any types of cruelty or abuse going on. This is the part where you become the voice. Any signs at all, physical abuse, emotional abuse with these dogs or animals, it's important that you get the word out when you see stuff like that. All right? It's very important because as of January of 2016, the FBI has been putting these on file, looking for trends. So the more you get the voice out there, the more they'll stop this before it even happens. All right? And going to SeaWorld, we saw a drop in revenue and attendance because we all came together. We all said something to each other, and everybody took notice. We could do the same with animal abuse. I want every dog to be like Kelly, to be lovable and playable and not be shy, to not whimper away when you go to pet it. I want every dog to be like that, and that's how it should be. That's why we need to voice their pain. Let everybody know what they feel. And it's easy to do, it really is. It's the most simplest thing. Go on Facebook, report a video of animal abuse. People post it thinking it's right. These dog fights or animal fights, they post it like it's no big deal. You just report it. And right there, you did something. Something so simple. Now you can get a little bit more into it and go to your local dog shelter or rescue home and walk the dogs. That's what I did at LSIP. 15 minutes of my day, I'd go there and walk a dog. Or even better, take it on the local trail. Spend an hour. Enjoy the outside weather with this dog because it's going to mean a lot to it. Other places like Rescue Inc. and the Animal Welfare League are also places you can get into that are kind of local. And if you don't want to do anything physical, donate some money. $1 will help. 25 cents will help. Anything will help. It's so simple. There's so many different ways you can help. Between Facebook, doing physical stuff like cleaning their cages and letting them out, or even just donating. So I encourage you guys to check out these websites, to check out LSIP, to check out Facebook, and get into these programs. Thank you.
All right, my name's Samantha. Mine was about early childhood education. So my parents grew up in the city of Chicago where they attended all city schools, even up through high school, because their families were struggling to make ends meet because it was hard because there was 5 siblings with my mom and my dad had 3 brothers. So it was just hard to make sure everybody got everything they needed. So they did grow up in poverty. My mother's parents had passed away before she turned 18, leaving her to take care of her siblings that were younger than her. After all her siblings were old enough to take care of themselves, she went back to get herself a GED because neither of my parents were able to graduate from high school. So it's hard to get an education when you're living in poverty. And she worked hard so that I could go to a good school. So after they lived in the city of Chicago, they moved to Justice, but they didn't keep me there for my early childhood education because they wanted me to go to good schools. And they moved me to suburbs of Orland Park because they heard of how great the schooling was. They wanted me to do better and have a better life than they had. My parents grew up in poverty and wanted to make sure that we didn't go through the same thing. Most kids aren't as lucky as me. The Carole Robertson Center for Learning is a private nonprofit center that serves for all the below poverty line and poverty people and has over 650 children that they help and their families every day and to get the development and everything they need for their early childhood. The ages range from ages birth to 12 years old. A bunch of their locations they have 3 locations on the west side of Chicago, which is where poverty is mostly over there in that area. And then it was created for low-income families because they wanted to help out families for the parents that go full-time work because they have to make ends meet. If there was children under the age of 6, there are programs offered for families that need home-based options, such as Family Childhood Home Network, so they would go to the house and help out while their parents went to work. I volunteered at the Carole Robertson Center twice. The first time I was there, I was with toddlers. I walked into the room and had seen about 15 children, all up to the age of 3. We had circle time while one of the 3 teachers read a book. This teacher loved her job, and I knew that because she acted out each page of the book so that these children can fully understand what she was reading. She really was engaged in her job and with the children she worked with, and I noticed that there were Spanish words all over the room, so they would teach the children Spanish as they were learning English. And then, because learning another language at a young age is the best time. During playtime, I was trying to talk to all these children, and 2 of the children out of all these 15 children actually spoke to me. One was just, I don't really know what she was saying, but another boy, every time I asked him to do something, he would just say, no. And I was like, do you not know any other words? And he'd just say, no. And I was like, okay. So that brings me to how living below the poverty line makes parents work full time. That means there's lack of attention given to the children at home because they are worried and more stressed out about other things. So maybe that's why that boy only knew the word no. So, and then my second visit at the Carole Robertson Center was with 3 to 5-year-olds. And when I walked in the room, so many children ran up asking me to play with them. They were so happy to see many faces and stuff like that they haven't seen before. And they were talking nonstop. And then I asked how long they've been attending the Carole Robertson Center, and they have been going there since birth to the age of 2. And after finding this out, it showed how much the speaking difference in the age groups has changed from the toddlers to the 3 to 5-year-olds because of the Carole Robertson Center. The Carole Robertson Center really helped children grow and get the early development that they needed and helped them with their speaking. Children need to learn the most at a younger age so that they can grow. Young children develop based off their childhood, so early education is really important. I asked Linda, the volunteer advisor at the Carole Robertson Center, about the volunteers that come in, and she told me that every time that a volunteer comes in, they get money to go towards the program and towards the school. Volunteering at the Carole Robertson Center was a great experience for me and for the children because of how excited they were when I was there and when they see new faces. It makes such a big difference in their lives, and it's really important. Another organization is Unicef, and they take donations and they help the entire world, such as countries such as South Asia, by engaging the world in the idea of early childhood education. There are many ways to stay involved in early childhood education, whether it's donating time or money. Everybody has a few hours to spare, and everybody can volunteer at schools such as the Carole Robertson Center because every small amount of volunteering counts.
Thank you. All right, just real quick, I know we're past time. I wanted to say thank you for all of your courage to come up here and speak about these things, to be so inspiring, to make my day. I have all these things to think about now, so thank you for that. Next class, we will meet in our regular classroom because we got through our full roster today. Thanks again so much, and I'll praise you more next class, okay?